we also looked at with that is that, it comes up to about $2 million. Is that
Yeah,
what the 16% of the
2.8. Yeah.
2.8? Yeah. So we also looked at with that. That is close to the same amount. The 2.8 million would be close to the amount that you would also use if, say, instead of building that new generation, you had growth and you needed to put a new substation in.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we arrived at that 16% level, is how much really should be put on new development, the whole thing for a $16 million project. And that would make, the impact fee. So right now we're at 3 million. If you used a much higher percent of that plant, the generating plant, and moved it into the impact fee facility plan, the impact fee would just be 2 or 3 more times higher than it is in the recommendation. So in order to kind of make the reasonableness in here, is that we looked at how much would a new capacity by other means cost. And putting in a new substation with a new transformer is going to cost less than doing that new plant. But there's somewhat of a desire to, expressed by the power department, by Clark, to have a generating plant in the city. And so we included it in the capital facility plan. But like I said, there's other ways to meet demand to new growth that cost less. And an equivalent project would be a new substation with a new transformer in it and ties into the city on distribution lines that would likely in 2027 maybe cost about that much.
That's helpful. Thank you. Just one other question, switching gears a little bit. I think I saw throughout the report a 2.3% growth rate. And that's, and I can appreciate you have to look at what's been historical and so forth, but I don't think that, I think there's maybe more potential than that. Does that mean we just come back with a new study 5 years from now if that's not close to really what the actual is?
Yeah. And that's really a hard thing to come up with, is what the growth is going to be in the future. So that's when having reiterative studies, or do them every few years instead of
rather than later.
Every 10, do them every 5 or 3.
Fair enough.
That comes into play. But if it does end up being higher some years, when you get the 2.3% compounded, basically, that really gives you quite a bit of growth. So we really try to do these to where we look at the worst case, and the worst case is that you would have more need for capacity than you plan for, because it can't just be added quickly. So it's better to plan for needing more and actually require less than it is the opposite way, to plan for less and end up requiring more. And that's factored in by using 2.3% population growth and compounding it on top of it each year.
Are there any limiters or limitations on what the impact fees can be, state statute and so forth, that would limit the amount that can be charged?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Maybe a silly question, but does that sort of build in for electric vehicles?
Have we taken into account electric vehicles in our study? Yes. Specifically, there was some known commercial entities that wanted to add large electric vehicle charging, and Clark provided that information to me, and we factored that into the areas in town where those were likely to be placed.
Okay.
And he also had concern with the penetration of electric vehicles charging by residents in the residential areas, and we took that into account as well.
On page 6 of your report, okay, it shows it has a graph. It shows our historic power demand, and then it shows the projected power demand. So if I'm looking at it right, from 2020 to 2030, the demand almost doubles. if I'm looking at this graph correctly, is that? And we're talking, still talking about that 2.3% or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think that's part of
population
that.
growth.
Yeah.
Is that solely due to that growth, or does it take into consideration things like he just mentioned, EVs and that type of thing?
Yeah, you made a good observation that the power is growing faster than the population. And that is taking into account some commercial items that Clark was able to feed me information on, things that he thought would come onto the power system. The EV charging was a big piece. The thought with some gravel mining coming on to the power system was another one of those big chunks.
Yeah, I was thinking that can't all be due to just a 2%, 2.3% population. growth.
Right. You're right.
Everybody good?
Yeah, good answers. Thank you.
Just
Thank you for your questions.
your crystal ball and growth. I just. Good luck.
Well, thank you for this time.
Yeah, appreciate your effort and I really appreciate you that you collaborated with Clark and got the sort of the feet on the ground kind of information. Thank you.
Need a motion for public-
We do need a motion.
Yeah. I'll make the motion that we go to a public hearing for the adoption of electric impact fee facility plan and impact fee analysis.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony. The adoption of electric impact fee facility plan and impact fee analysis, and a second from Jeff. All in favor? Hey, Denise, that's unanimous. And I'll entertain any public comments. I don't see any online.
Now's your chance.
Or with this question. Okay, comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing, Mayor.
Second.
Okay, Jeffrey, motion to close the public hearing, and Jeff seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Denise, that's unanimous. Item 6, active agenda. Review action, adoption of electric impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis ordinance 24-10. Does the council have any more?
I'd like to hear any comments from Ty. Your thoughts?
On the impact fees? So just kind of, I didn't chime in, but the need for generation is tied to the project that we have going on by Geneva Rock. So,
Some of those dollars are.
Yeah, so-
Then.
so some of it's running capacity, but a lot of it's startup capacity. So the benefit is we would be able to use that generation in an outage to run about a third of the city. So some critical facilities. So if we lost transmission from Rocky Mountain Power, that'd be our only option. Our first option that we've ever had is to run our own generators and keep our business district online. So it'll also accommodate EV charging stations with the rapid ramp up and spikes in demand. And so that's the other reason why a lot of this isn't attributable necessarily to the impact fees. The other comment that I have is you saw the projected costs and needs, and we have $132,000 so far.
Ways to go.
Yeah, so not complaining, it's a positive number, but it is only fair for new growth to pay for the another example that I thought of at the time too is we do have lines that need replaced. So over there by the school, we're gonna have to replace a line one way or the other. When we replace it, if we upgrade the conduit or make a little bit more capacity, it's only the capacity portion. So the new line replacement is not attributable to impact fees, but the portion of the line, so it costs us X amount of dollars more to put in thicker conduit, then that portion is attributable to impact fees. So we will be spending impact fees on capital projects that seem to be just maintenance.
Okay.
We'll use them as we go. So outside of the substation, I just wanted to make that note too. And then the way we look at subdivisions is changing with home vehicle charging. So right now, the system's designed so much per home. Each home is an ERU or whatever is based on a certain amount, but we're seeing the demand increase per home, which regardless of what our substation capacity is, we need to really keep up on that or else we're not gonna be able to keep the lights on. So that's all my comments about our.
Ty, when did we last do a study?
That's a good question. On most of our impact fee systems, I try and do them every 5 years, but I've been here for 7 and this is the first impact fee study that we've done for power. We've kind of done the other ones.
I mean, some of, particularly for the larger capacities, the larger panels and so forth, there's some pretty good percentage-wise jumps in where we were versus where we're going. Is that because of how long it's been, or is it because of the Geneva factor, or all of the above?
It jumps in the future?
No, the percent of increase from where we're current to where we expect to go if this is passed tonight.
Yeah, most of that's Geneva.
Okay,
That's a significant
all right.
load. And that's the commercial rate is also higher than the residential
Yeah.
rate by a ways. They, a lot of them have 3-phase power and
Mhm.
just a lot larger load than.
Yeah, if you took the current impact fee and where it is right today, and if the ordinance is adopted where it will be tonight, there's some significant increases in percent.
Yep.
From where it was to where it's going.
But still a time frame. The other reason why you update them every so often is because you have to spend the impact fees that you collect within 6 years of collection.
Okay.
And so we can look clear out into the future, but we can only fund, we'll be spending those dollars as we go. Right, but that what's really gonna happen is if we do a generator project, we're gonna borrow the money and then pay it back
Mhm.
through impact fees.
Right.
I don't know if that's outside the
Yeah.
scope of what we need to know right now.
Moving forward, then we'd probably be looking at a study every 4 or 5 years, would you suggest?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe a little more frequent?
Yeah, unless something changes rapidly.
Yeah,
then we look at it.
yeah, if there's some other factor that comes along.
On the EV chargers, we're also looking at a policy to require battery installation so that a rapid charging station would draw down on the battery instead of off the system. So that's just one way to kind of grow without it all 100% being on. impact
Mitigate
fees.
some
Yeah.
of those trouble.
Yeah, but we need to get that studied and adopted too, so.
Yeah, I believe Tony has a comment.
You know, well, our question, I guess, or for Mike or for Tyson, if we pass this ordinance tonight, that impact fee goes into the effect, the one that you presented to us tonight, correct?
Yeah, 90 days.
After 90 days.
Okay, after 90 days.
Mhm.
Okay, so what is the purpose of the 90 days? Does this public still have an opportunity? Why isn't it more going to affect sooner than 90 days? I guess I'm not sure the requirement.
State law.
I'll just bet it's a state induced.
So, well, and
In hopes of what?
so, and part of it is it keeps the impact fee from being reactionary. So tomorrow we have a big proposed development. And we say, we got to hurry and update our impact fee. Right.
Get some money.
Yeah, so there's I don't know if that's the reason, but there's thought process behind. This should be an impartial process like what we're doing right now. We know growth is coming, but we don't have a, like,
Pick on that growth.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or a proposal or a negotiation and underway, like we suspect we know where some new growth is coming, but in a general sense, that would be one of the reasons why you wouldn't enact it and implement it tomorrow.
That makes sense, actually. I hadn't thought of that.
Everybody ready for a motion?
Mayor, I'd move to adopt ordinance 24-10, an ordinance adopting an impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analysis pursuant to the Utah Code, providing for repealer, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
I will second it, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion from Dave to adopt ordinance 24-10, second from Tony. Jeffrey,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Okay, Denise, that's unanimous. Item 7, city reports and business. Is there any, do we need to say, or is that's just in the ordinance, isn't it, the 90 days?
Mhm.
Actually, what happened is we're adopting the facility plan and analysis tonight. On the 13th of August, in that public hearing, we'll adopt the consolidated fee schedule, which will list all the new
The new
impact fees.
fees.
And it will be 90 days after that date.
That's when the clock will start.
That's when the clock starts, when you actually adopt the impact fee itself.
I think that's kind of the question I was trying to ask. a
Yeah,
minute ago.
I think so.
Yeah.
You should have spoke up. You got more knowledge than us. Okay, is there any comments, reports from the city council?
Cemetery looks really, really good.
Thank you.
Tell them kudos on
Yeah,
that.
will.
Looks really nice.
I had one call on all weeds and old cars in yards and a few things like that that we need to be cleaning up.
Just pass those on, there's an online form to fill out. I just got one the other day and I drove by and didn't see what they were talking about. And so sometimes the neighbors see or know way more than what's obvious when you're driving by, so. But yeah, there's a particular, that's how we do code enforcement, is on a complaint basis, so,
And I passed that on to them,
oh, perfect.
fill out the
Good.
sheets and stuff. So,
ADA sidewalks look pretty nice over at the park too. They did an okay job with that. I think it's nice.
Yeah. Turned out good. We did get a complaint on them, but we get complaints all the time, so,
A complaint.
yeah. If a kid goes scootering down a
They go too
ADA
fast
ramp,
now.
they don't necessarily have time to stop before they hit a picnic table.
We need a runaway lane or something down there.
We didn't contemplate the recreational aspect of it.
Were the brakes good on the scooter?
Evidently not.
Okay, is that? Okay, Ty?
Okay, the first item I have is the Wasatch Integrated. We've talked about this several times in meetings and had them come up and present. On the front page, it shows kind of the rollout of our participation. And the very first thing is to decide on the program type, if we want universal or opt-out. So on the back page, it gives you the difference between the bundle or universal program or opt-out. When we had the original presentation from Wasatch Integrated, I was recommending the bundled option, where we just have a rate that you get 2 cans. You don't have to keep the can if you don't want to, just because we don't have a city-sponsored recycling program right now. It seems the cleanest administratively. It seems by far the cleanest way to do it. And you can still have a hardship program attached to that. So that's kind of the head nod that I'm looking for tonight, is if we want to go that direction or just do a complete opt out and handle every single case by case. Just accounting wise, it's a lot of setting up and charging different rates and then trying to not miss somebody like we've had in the past where I was charged, but I didn't get a can and wasn't charged and that sort of thing. So Tony's the guru on this one.
Initially, down at Wasatch Integrated, what was passed was the bundled universal program. I hate to use the word mandatory, but that was the word that was bandied around a little bit. It would be mandatory. There was a lot of pushback on it from certain cities. So they then went and said, okay, we're going to make an opt-out available as well. And as you can see there, it's just everybody would receive a can. And it's up to the homeowner that if they do not want to participate in the opt-out or participate in the recycling program, it would be up to them to call the city and say, I want out, come get the can. Of course, they would not be paying anything additional for that recycling can. To Ty's point, the bundled universal program, one fee probably is much easier from an office standpoint,
Thanks, Mike.
but the opt-out gives us,
Mike, would you leave a report or two?
yes, please.
Sweet, thank you.
But the opt-out gives homeowners the opportunity to decide whether they want to be a part of it or not.
That's a certain period, correct?
They have, well, as you read here, they have to opt out during that rollout period.
Just 30
And
days.
and then anybody that moves into the city, it becomes, they will receive a can and be part of the recycling program. Even to the extent that if you moved addresses, if I left my home where I'm at and moved over to, another portion of town, I would be required to have that recycling can. So, anyway, it's totally, the mandatory is what got everybody a little bit up in arms when we were discussing it down at Wasatch Integrated. That's kind of what, and then a lot of pushback from some cities came along and they says, we don't like that. And that's when they decided to offer an opt-out as well. So
So let me get this right. If you're a new move-in or you just moved, then you don't have an opt-out.
no, you're in. That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. You're a resident now and you're gonna have a can delivered. But if you don't want it, you just call and say, come get the can and I don't want to be a part of the recycling program. And I don't know how that is going to look. I mean, if that's the way we decided to go, I don't know what percentage we're going to do. There's also going to be what did they call it? Ty, a diversion for those, depending on how much of it is diverted, from the landfill from your city. There's a bit of an incentive to, a formula that they have for an incentive to reduce your cost. Again, depending on how much of your waste by tons is diverted from the landfill because of the recycling program. Did that make sense?
Yeah, right now our diversion rate's 0. So
Right.
it would be a brand new calculation, which I think will help compared to the cities that already have a program. I think we'll be successful on.
The one thing the opt-out would probably require would be also that we would have we'd have a 2-tier system for the sanit, for that fight. You'd have a cost for your black garbage can and, then you'd have those that have black and recycle, which would be another tier. So, and I can't tell you, I don't know, maybe Ty can, I can't tell you how much that's going to increase the cost of our
We have to figure that out. We'll have to figure out what the new
Robinson
rate would be.
waste. We just got to figure out how much that's going to add a cost to.
And how long is that gonna prolong the?
Not long.
I remember the numbers, Steve. If there was no recycling throughout Wasatch's footprint, the landfill would fill up in 8 years. if we recycle, and after that, keep in mind that after the 8 years, when it's full, we're taking all of our garbage down to Utah Lake, just out west there. So there's a tremendous cost in transportation. If they can get everybody on board to recycle, and of course, and the big drive is not so much the environmental side of it, which is great. I mean, it's nice to help the environment for sure, but the big drive is, can we extend that time out longer because we've separated it and we're not putting it into the landfill, the recyclable material. If we do that, if everybody gets on board to do that, it adds another 10 years to the landfills. So now we're out 18 years. And that's the big driver in Wasatch Integrated, is in trying to get that 18-year period in place rather than the 8-year. So in other words, we're either paying for additional garbage up sooner rather than later if we don't do it. Because in 8 years from now, you'll be paying a increased amount, a higher fee, because
We're gonna be transported.
it's full. Yeah,
It'll all be transported.
For some reason, I was
oh, yeah.
thinking it was a shorter period of time.
It is, it is.
Well, the number he gave when he was here was 8,
It's,
8 years.
that's not correct.
unless he's changed it.
He has.
Okay, it's even less than that.
It's much less than that. So
Okay.
If you're doing it to solely save the landfill and extend more time for the landfill, it will some, but not to the extent that they originally, to Dave's point, that not that they originally said. So
Yeah, it's far under 10 years is the number I'm remembering.
it is. And so that's, again, Dave, that's been changed. So that's not the big drive. It'll save your landfill for a while, but not to the
Yeah.
extent that they, so anyway.
Then,
I think they spent $20 million on a facility down there, Wasatch Integrated, to do what they called single stream recycling. And that meant you threw it all in your black garbage can. And if you remember, originally I says, oh, don't worry about it. You're recycling, and everything you put in your black garbage can is going to be recycled. What happened? And the only way they could do that was have pickers on the line that's picking everything.
it's labor intensive.
They couldn't keep enough help. The diversion rate was lousy. It was horrible. And so honestly, I think one of the big reasons for the push to go to this district-wide recycling is so that now it becomes commingled, what they call commingled recycling. So you're gonna have, on your can, you're gonna have a big notification of what goes in that can and what doesn't. You don't have to break it down in paper here, plastic here, glass here. It's called but still it's going to allow them to have a much greater diversion rate than having somebody sitting there trying to pick it off the line. And therefore, I think it utilizes that facility they built to a much greater degree, if that makes sense. So, and I think that's the big driver, Dave. Now it's probably let's be able to utilize our facility that we're really not utilizing right now.
We say utilize it, but
The only
for
thing,
just a few years?
it's not very long. It's not very
I'm
long.
not sure what I guess I don't see as much value now in the program as before, as a month ago.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if we were to advertise it as 10 years, on the landfill, that's not correct.
I mean, 8 to 18 made sense, but if we're just a few years out,
Well,
what difference does it make?
essentially, that was one of the reasons I just gave you right there, was because, and
But again, then what drives
and
this?
honestly, I think probably some of it has to do with environmental and I.
Fair enough.
People feel good about.
Yeah.
Recycling, you know what I mean? So, I mean, honestly, that's kind of the crux behind it now. I will say this, and I apologize for taking up some time here. The only thing I said all along was if the bundled universal program, and that looked like that was going to go through. The only problem I had with it, and I said, okay, as long as there's a hardship case in there. My problem was the 90-year-old widow who doesn't even put a quarter of her black garbage can out every week, that's going to have to pay for and have a recycling can that she has absolutely no intention of using or never will use. Personally, I had a problem with that. And I still do, to be honest with you.
But I think you were at the meeting there, Tony, when that was discussed, and
But-
between Ty and Gary,
But we would have to decide as a city what we are going to deem as our hardship.
and you'd have to apply it to all of your services.
You'd have to.
It can't just be garbage.
Whether it be an age, whether it be,
Sure.
do you
Yeah.
qualify for
Yeah.
circuit breaker? Do you do this? Do you do
Fair
that?
enough
Which
is,
is still going to put an onus on
yeah,
our, on our office staff.
and how much ability do they have?
So it almost seemed like it was more cut and dried and easier for me to say, just go to this opt-out. If you don't want it, you don't have it. But if you're asleep at the wheel and you don't come in that designated time period, you've got it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So the other thing administratively is on the opt-out, would have to go deliver, and then just the amount that we go pick back up would be a lot of extra,
Good point.
a lot of extra cans, because the bundle will still, it'll increase the rate, but not, it won't be as much as the 2 cans, right? There's gonna be some efficiencies by having the same hauler, by having everybody participate, the less,
Economies of scale.
yeah, the
Economy of
least,
scale.
the less amount of people participating, the more transportation costs we pay per load. So there are some reasons that we want a good saturation of participation, but you can still, in the bundled program, have that hardship.
Which we would have to decide.
Which,
as a city.
yeah, you just have to decide, but that's not as difficult to manage as the opt-out program. You'll have a handful of the people that qualify. You just adjust their rate one time. Right, and then they either have the can at their house or they don't.
Do you think Ty and opt-out would require additional staff? Or
A lot more time. I don't know about
30
additional
hours?
staff. The startup's gonna be the,
The startup, no matter what.
yeah, so the mandatory part is still in effect that Tony talked about. We're still obligated to participate. It's just now it's which program do you want? And so the bundled option is still staff-wise what we have, and I think, you know, if you come up with that criteria for the other opt-out, it's a brand new service. We offer more. It's just like it's almost like a cell phone package where it's like, now we've given you unlimited data. Your plan went up when we gave you unlimited data, regardless if you use it or not. It's just all included now. So that's probably a terrible analogy, but
Everyone would get a can delivered in the opt-out. Those that do not want to participate, we'd have to go gather up the can. And I said, well, what do we do with 300 extra cans? And I guess at some point in time, you could
reuse them.
reuse them, or you could, eventually you would,
Yeah,
through attrition, you'd get them used up.
but the bundle one, if they're
Anyway,
paying for it, the only reason they wouldn't want one is if they don't have space for it, or they absolutely just don't want to.
but if we go to,
It wouldn't be that many.
but what, I still haven't changed my personal view on it, and that is if you go to this bundled universal program, I definitely, again, my personal opinion, I think there ought to be a hardship case of some sort that ought to be pretty well defined.
There is, so on the second, on the back page, if you read through the bullets, that's what I'm saying is there's a,
Yeah, but we have to decide what that hardship is.
yeah, and we could work on, I could check with other cities and do some homework on that. We don't have to decide what the hardship is tonight. It's just a head nod of which direction we want to go, because that influences the rollout. Right, we have months of future activities coming up that we need to go through, so.
David, everyone, just so you know, everyone was where you were. as far as the
Sure.
longevity of the
The board
land, of the
down there.
landfill. Yeah, I can't,
That's great
I can't remember where I was I at League of Cities and Towns, and the first thing I did is I had members of the board walk up to me and said, did you hear what they discussed at the city manager meeting? I said, no. They said that it might add another year, 12 to 18 months at the landfill, and that's it. So everybody was kind of up in arms down there, because it was
Yeah.
all under the impression that you were under, so.
Changes the
they're-
thinking on the whole thing in my mind.
The other thing on the opt-out program is it's more geared towards people that currently already have their own city recycling program, because it replaces what they currently have in place. So some cities already have an opt-out recycling program, and they're gonna have to switch to this new abandon what they currently do and adopt a new one. And so they're already kind of in the business, but
In one way, in some ways, we're blessed not to have anything up here right now.
just to start, that's why I'm saying I think the bundled route is just administratively a lot easier of a pill to swallow. And then we can work on the rates and the,
I've said all along, I would be curious in an opt-out, I would be very curious to see what percentage of the city would stay with the program.
Well, so he lists multiple cities that
Most,
either use bundled or opt-out, and the ones that have,
nobody uses bundled right now, they're all opt-out.
well, there's a couple of them,
There's a couple,
West Bountiful, or somebody started out with 100% participation and they still retain 80 or 90%. For the cities that allow just to pick and choose, it was,
way low.
yeah, it was
dropped
down
off of what
50,
it was.
40, 30%, I'll bet.
Most, I think there's only what, 5 entities that don't have some sort of curbside recycling through Wasatch, of some sort, and that would be Morgan City, Morgan County, South Weber, Layton. And I can't remember the other one, but anyway.
Okay,
We talked about, discussed and rehashed for some time.
sometimes feel like I've never had handcuffs on me, but sometimes it feels like they're on there, but anyway, that's beside the point.
Well,
I am.
Is there enough discussion to see which way you're leaning tonight? We still have to coordinate with the county, because we want to, in my opinion anyway, we do want to do the same option that the county does. We've stuck.
Which way they're leaning, or they haven't had the.
I don't, but I need to know which direction to kind of gear things towards, so we can,
Can you just say that,
I don't either. The county is on this right now.
can
But I
you just
can-
say whatever the county goes, the city goes?
well, they're gonna also say what way does the
They're
city.
gonna ask us.
Yeah, they'll say whatever the city does.
So if there's just a head nods or a thumbs up or anything on which one you prefer tonight, you don't have to, it's not a vote or a decision, you're not bound to it, but it does, I do need to know which way I'm
Thumbs
gonna
up
start
from
talking.
Everybody on the bundled? Who's in favor of the bundled?
I mean, I would be if we could extend it out longer, but this whole discussion tonight changes the perspective, I think.
Yeah, but if we have to kind of say which way we're leaning.
Yeah, I think I'd be leaning towards opt-out, and we'll give Teresa something to do
So Dave, you're leaning opt-out,
right now.
Tony?
So am I still,
So we're split.
opt out, I'm still sort of leaning toward an opt out.
Okay. We'll have to make it a formal agenda item then.
So it
That's
sounds
fine.
like the majority tie is opt-out.
Minus Eric, so
But I
it's
agree-
still a split decision, so I'm not gonna take a,
But I agree with you, Ty. I think it's important that we do follow suit with the county on that as well.
Yeah. yeah, so I'll see what discussions they've had. We'll move forward. So the next item is just our city party is August 12th at 6 PM at the park. Yeah, we're gonna have it catered again. We'll have a couple of games there this year, some cornhole, maybe some lawn games. So if you bring the,
Who's catering?
well, we haven't firmed it up, but we're trying for the barbecue. Just forgot the name. Boxcar.
Boxcar.
Yeah.
Smoking,
Smoking boxcar. Thanks.
or smoking.
Yeah, they've catered like a golf tournament and stuff like that before. They do a pretty good job on catering. The next item is the 2025 budget is done. The numbers have been done since we did the tentative budget. In your packet, it's, that's a digital budget book. It has a different format, and it's also Denise posted it online.
Is this a new format?
Yeah,
You're good.
been working on it for a couple years.
You're the author?
Yeah,
Nice, looks good.
but using a software program. So, but all the content. I've done all the content, but I just wanted to let you know it's out there and it's publicly viewable on our website, so that if you want to peruse it before our
Yeah, absolutely.
the adoption meeting, when we adopt the budget, then this will give you kind of a,
Spend hours per shooting.
Tony will.
well, that's good, because I spend hours.
Yeah.
So this is where it's at on the website. Done the finance.
That you did, Tony.
Then
We'll have a PDF each year, so we'll be able to keep up.
you can,
Transparency. And then this is the link to the budget book.
The budget book here.
so then there's just a click, so just scroll over introduction and kind of, yeah, those tabs, so you can see the,
Good looking
Is it-
picture, Tony.
it-
Good looking picture.
thanks, it's several years old.
That current?
You first married?
Do I have a ball cap on?
Sunglasses on.
But I might still have shorts on even though I have a shirt and tie. I have a UAMPS picture, my UAMPS profile. I have a suit and tie on and I have shorts on, but they only took a headshot, so. It's good.
All those news anchors that they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Sitting at their desk and so the certified tax rate, is that approved on the 13th or?
That's the minimum tax rate and also our budget.
Busy one.
Yep. Anyway, so now you have the budget before that meeting, if you get any interest or questions. Okay. The last thing I have is just the Union Pacific lease agreement that's in your packet. This is a supplement to the lease agreement we currently have. So we have an agreement to maintain all the property along Commercial Street as park space. So that's what our lease agreement says, is that we will maintain it, but we have the right to use their property. They own out to the middle of Commercial Street. And this extends it. And so the back of this, or the second page, that's kind of the important part, is just to see the new area that hashed out red area is what we extended it to.
Why did we want to extend it?
So originally on that, the Rural Opportunities Grant, we were gonna do a train viewing park. And when we went to do it there, we thought we had a lease agreement already. We didn't have an agreement to use that property, so we use the grant in different areas. And now we have the ability now to create a train viewing park. But now we're just looking for a different source of funding.
A question on that.
Yeah.
Probably not for you, but you drive along Commercial Street, you know, you come up from the fairgrounds, you drive along Commercial Street. You see all these people's vehicles parked over there and what's gotta be the railroad right away. I
Mhm.
assume it's gotta be.
It is, yep.
The railroad doesn't, clearly, I guess, doesn't care that they park there, which is a little surprising to me because I would think there'd be a liability issue there, but.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's up to the railroad, right?
That's not part of what we lease.
No, well, yeah, once we lease it, once we improve it, then we'll be maintaining it,
We'll be down farther towards where that's at.
right? Well, yeah, we'll replace some of those trailers. We'll have to move some people in order to build
So,
something there.
so we wouldn't, as a city, we wouldn't be allowing people to park on that, correct? Is that,
Not once we improve it and start maintaining it.
yeah, because I've often wondered about that. I thought you derail, wipe out all those people's trailers that are parked along there.
Wipes out houses too.
Trucks and
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're also, just along these lines, we're also,
He wasn't quite here, or you was?
we didn't have a lease agreement for the entrance to the city, so you know how we're improving and we've maintained that for years. Couldn't find a lease agreement. The railroad wants us to have a lease agreement there and they want to charge us 5,000 a year, so I'm negotiating against that. I mean, we've been maintaining it for years and it's just improving their property, so I don't. This other one we don't pay for, the one on Commercial Street, we don't
$5.
pay for. Well,
So do we have all of
if they provide the water and power, we'll mow it if they want to add some utilities to the deal.
Ty, the Exhibit C references 4 different types of insurance. Do we have all of those?
I believe so, yeah.
Pollution liability,
It's all kind of a comprehensive
okay. In the policy,
in our policy. Yeah.
okay.
You good?
Big fair parade
Um,
on Saturday.
What? I was gone last week, got home,
This
went to the
exhibit.
mail, got the letter, I'm sure all of you did, from Secondary Water. When are they going to start digging up yards and putting meters in? Are they working with the city to do all of that?
So we've had meetings with them about which type of meter, so they're gonna have the same meter that we currently use. They've talked about locations, but we're not participating on when they dig up, install and re-landscape. That's,
But we'd have to give them some traffic
well, they have to do blue stake.
diversion, yeah.
As they go, they'll have to do blue stakes, which is we'll have to go out and mark our water and power and sewer.
It's crazy how many people still think that's the city
Utility.
responsibility, doing secondary water.
Which, which brings up a good point, if I may add something. I've been asked that twice this week.
Yeah,
And the question I get is, who do I talk to? Where do I go? I don't know how to answer that. I don't think. Is it
It's just
Darcy?
email with
Is it
Darcy.
Darcy is.
But this individual said to me, do they actually have an official budget that I could look at? And I said, It's
I
not
don't
this-
know that they need to provide it.
it's not
a
the
private
city.
company.
we have nothing to do with it, so I can't answer that for you. So
No, they won't see anything. They're private.
But
This is the water companies that have come together.
they do have,
is it public record?
well, they do have a contract with JUB. So the whole project has been budgeted, but I don't know that they make it available. I don't know that.
Doubt it, nor would they disclose what their revenue and expense
Yeah.
is, because it's not a public event.
Yeah, that's true. But you're right, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I've
Comments
been,
are-
I've been hearing about it.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody refers to the city on it, so.
I hear about it, and I'm on the north side. and-
Yeah, you don't even have it.
Yeah.
Why would the meters just go in the parking strip for the most part?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, so they're not digging up our road.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. Most all the connections are outside of roads, or else they'd have to be charged a road cut fee.
Yeah.
On those extreme cases.
Off the sidewalks and.
It goes right out to the road.
Then we also coordinated color so that the irrigation one, their little, the irrigation box, I think they're going with is purple, but I can't remember but anyway, we've had coordination with them, but we just don't have anything to do with the rollout and the installation. That's all them.
I think maybe partly to answer your question, Jeff, didn't it say the rollout starts this fall? And
Yeah, it starts, they
goes for
said,
a year.
when are you gonna start doing that? I said, city's not doing anything. I don't know.
Just
If-
read, it's in the letter. They'll start this fall.
Yeah, this fall,
And they want to go through all of the year into about this.
about this time, hopefully by next year, but
Next year, yeah.
If they don't get it done, it could get turned to the city.
Wasn't there,
That's down the road.
wasn't there something in place that if they got on it immediately, that the cost of those meters would be reimbursed by the government or somewhat?
They
But
talk
grant
about
money.
The
grant.
longer they
Agreed.
waited, the smaller percent of that. they would do, right?
Evidently, they have a grant.
Yeah,
They reference that.
By the time 2030 came along, if you had got it done here, there was no, I
Yeah.
don't think there was any grant money.
they had like 5 year.
Percent or something. like that.
And the last item I have, just to get back to Dave on the
Yes,
warrants,
thank
the reimbursement was because of an overcharge 3 days prior, so accidentally somebody typed in the 2,600 instead of 260,
Holy
And-
smokes.
and then the reimbursement. So I don't know that they actually got a check back.
They did,
Their account had a refund of,
the citizen, the person didn't pay that much and then we had to give it back.
yeah, we over
Just a billing error.
billing error that got corrected, yeah.
And it was for what again?
Their utility account,
Oh, okay.
so. Anyway, that's why it shows up on our side of, as
Mhm.
a credit going back, so.
Gotcha. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Any more discussion?
Good meeting.
Thanks for all your input and participation, and this meeting's adjourned.
Well, remember how.
Thank you.
I was gonna bring up, but I just. Yeah.
Quick question, are the forces be available on the, so I don't bring that stuff.
Plan on it.
Yeah.
Are we here the 13th?
August 13th.
I won't be here on, the 13th, so I've got to have at least 3 of you. And then did anybody, if you want to get with Ty to discuss his tax options, I think Tony was on that meeting. Didn't I give you a copy of that?
Yeah, that's, I wanted to discuss it with.
We set up a meeting with Ty, and they will contact it between now and the.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah. Let's see, 2 days.
Oh my God.
185.
Was it by one of the feeders that was spinning out?